What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for a quick review of M3GAN 2.0 or M3GAN 2.0. The title is obviously the acronym for the robot in the lead role, but I can't remember what it stands for. I never can. Point is, this is a sequel to the 2022 smash hit M3GAN, which I thought was solid enough. I wasn't in love with it or anything, and I think it works better as a satirical look at the faulty relationship between parenting and technology. I think it does a better job of that than it does as a slasher film about a murderous doll going around killing people. But I did think it was decent. The dance scene went viral for a reason. It's all in good fun and I enjoyed it well enough. M3GAN 2.0 feels kind of like a nod to Terminator 2, both literally and spiritually. Spiritually because it shifts the tone from horror to action. People forget how scary and more of a slasher film that original Terminator was, in that it's essentially a machine chasing after a person just like Michael Myers would, and it was much more focused on horror than action. And then obviously Terminator 2 was much more action oriented. Not comparing the M3GAN films to Terminator quality-wise, I'm just pointing out the parallels. And the other obvious similarity between this film and Terminator 2 is that this time a bigger, badder robot shows up, and so we actually bring back the villain from the previous film, who is now the protector of our main character, rather than the one trying to kill them. And in this case, that bigger, badder robot is called Amelia, also an acronym, and I also cannot remember what this one stands for. And I'm about to butcher this actress's name, but she is played by Ivana Sakno. I thought she was fantastic. She's got that cold daggers for eyes stare, and I thought she was quite convincing as a machine. It's just the kind of stare that, like, if you walked into a room and made eye contact with her, you're like, yeah, I'm probably going to get murdered today. M3GAN herself is, well, she's the same as she was in the first movie, so if you enjoyed her personality there, you get more of that here. A lot of shit talk, plenty of sarcasm. Both of those two characters are highly entertaining in this sequel. As far as the rest of the film goes, wow. Many moments of greatness trapped inside of a film that I feel bites off a little more than it can chew by massively overcomplicating what should have been a very simple plot. Bad AI robot was stopped in the last movie. Worse AI robot is on the loose now, so we have to bring back bad AI robot to fight worse AI robot. That's what this is in essence. But in practice, there's a lot more going on in this film. We learn how Amelia came to be, what the company that developed her is trying to do, and all of that requires a nauseating amount of exposition, so much so that it diminishes the screen time of the robots significantly. And I think they are the reason, the main selling point of people going to this. They want to see M3GAN and Amelia fight. That's what was teased in the trailer. And I respect writer-director Gerard Johnstone for shifting the tone of his sequel. But I think we all crave M3GAN as an antagonist more than a protagonist. When you make her a little too sentimental and less murderous, she loses an integral part of her identity, in my opinion. Now, in all fairness, I have no problem with her helping the humans in this movie, but she could have been a little more violent. I think they defang her a little too much here. I'm happy to see her become an anti-hero, but I don't want her to be a hero, if that makes any sense. As far as Gemma and her niece Katie go, I think they're fine. They do a decent enough job of bringing that human quality to the film when the robots aren't on screen. And they do something interesting with Gemma here in sort of developing her after she essentially was a part of the problem in the first movie and what caused M3GAN to be developed and resulted in the deaths of, I think, 4 people and a dog is what we're told. The action sequences are surprisingly good in here. I think this is like a $25 million film. And quite frankly, it looks more expensive than that. I think that's worth pointing out because there are so many modern Hollywood blockbusters that have these big, massive, inflated, bloated budgets, and honestly, they don't look like they were as passionately made as something like this. I think the director clearly wanted to make a good movie, even though this time around he wrote the screenplay in the first film he just directed. I'm sure Blumhouse was happy to give him the reins after the success of the first one, and I think he just needed someone else to help him hone his focus on the script. A few more drafts would have benefited this pretty significantly, and most of the changes that I would have made come down to simplifying the story and cutting down the runtime, because this is like a 2-hour-long film that honestly could have been an hour 40 and would have been a more tightly paced, straight to the point, entertaining sequel. And a lot of the extra narrative fluff in this film isn't even shown in the trailers. Some of it is, Just to give you an idea, there's some stuff about using chips installed into people's heads to enhance their consciousness, kind of like something out of the movie Upgrade, directed by Lee Winnell, if you've seen that. There's a bunch of jibber-jabber about military applications for the robots. There's this goofy squad of FBI agents chasing the characters through the first half of the film. They felt like they were ripped straight out of a Coen Brothers movie. And perhaps the weakest part of the entire experience for me is the main human antagonist, who isn't revealed until later into the film, but his line delivery was so robotic that I half expected him to be revealed as an android himself. So yeah, does M3GAN 2.0 sometimes feel like they simply threw as much at the wall as they could to see what sticks? Yes, and I'll fully admit that the first one was much more interesting and cohesive thematically. Man, it sucks to be so critical of this film because so many people were willing to jump on the hate train early on, and after I watched the trailer, I was like, hell yeah, sign me up. I'm totally on board for this because I'm so sick of all these sequels that are simple retreads of the same film. I'm sure there was a temptation to make just another movie in which M3GAN comes back to life and slashes up a bunch more people because her programming is all messed up or whatever. And that's not what the director did here. He went in a very different direction, and I respect the boldness and the swings that it takes. Despite all of my problems with M3GAN 2.0, I had a relatively good time watching it. The theater that I was in was very responsive to it. It does provide lots of strong laughs. I was surprised by how sharp the humor is. There's one line about vaginal yeast infections that had everyone in uproar, easily the funniest moment in the film, and I don't want to say any more about it and spoil it. I think mentioning that line just gives you an idea of just how aggressively unserious this movie is, does not take itself remotely serious, and goes for a lot of big swings that don't all land, but I respect them for the effort. Damn it, this one is so hard to give a score to because I am like right smack dab in the middle between giving it a 3 and a 2.5. Can I break my own rules here and give it a 2.75? What the hell. I'm going to give M3GAN 2.0 3 stars for the hell of it. I think this is one that you can definitely wait for. I wouldn't rush to the theater to check this out, even if you enjoyed the first one, because this is very different. And I was one of the few people willing to give it a chance and telling other people they should give it a chance. Before you go, make sure you hit that like button if you want to see more content like this. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.